Lesson 1-1 is about rational numbers. A rational number is a number that can be written as a fraction. It has the word ratio in rational numbers. So these can be a terminating or repeating decimal because those can change to fractions, or it could just be an integer. And of course, if you already have a fraction, it is rational because it is written as a fraction. In our first example, we're going to write a fraction as a decimal. So we start with this fraction, 7/8. And I want you to notice something very important here. You see this, let's see, I'll do this another color. You see this arrow or this line between 7/8? We often call that a fraction line, but it is the same as a division symbol. So I'm going to note that here. This is a division symbol. When we see that fraction line and we want to change to a decimal, we're simply going to divide. So I'm going to take 7 and divide by 8. I can go to a calculator to do that, and I get 0.875. Okay, to use a calculator to write a fraction as a decimal, we're going to turn on the calculator, and then we have the fraction 7/8. So we're going to start by tapping the numerator 7, and then we're going to use this ABC button right here. ABC, it's actually a fraction line, and it's going to look like a little angle. So we've got 7/8. And then you'll notice in here in blue, it says F to D. That is converting between fractions and decimals. So we're going to use the second function because it's in blue and this is in blue, and press this button, and it pops up F to D. Enter, and we've got 0.875. So we've gone from a fraction to a decimal. Okay, so we're going to change this decimal, 4/10, this terminating decimal, to a fraction. So I'm going to start by noting the numbers that are after the decimal, and I'm just going to write that actually as a numerator. So the numbers after the decimal. And then I'm going to note what the place value of the last digit is. So I'm going to note the place value of last digit, and those two pieces of information will give me the fraction. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to note what numbers are after the decimal. Well, it's just the number 4. And then I'm going to notice what the place value of that 4 is. So if we look behind the decimal, there's only one digit after the decimal, so it is in the 10ths place. So this is 4/10. Now I just want to reduce that fraction. 4/10, those numbers are both even numbers, so we know they divide by 2. So I'm going to divide both the numerator and denominator by 2 to get 2/5, and I'm finished. To change a terminating decimal to a fraction, we're going to turn the calculator on, and we've got just this little terminating decimal, 0.4, and we want to change it to a fraction. So we're going to use this F to D button in blue. Since it's in blue, we're going to have to go to second, then press the button that pops up F to D, and hit enter. And it gives you the fraction 2/5, which has been reduced from 4/10 using the calculator. Example 3, we're going to write a repeating decimal as a fraction. This method is not something that you're familiar with. The other two you've seen in 7th grade math, but this is new. And I'll be honest, I'm going to show you the technical method because I'd like you to see it. It uses a little bit of algebra, but really, you can do this very quickly in the calculator, and since you have that tool, I'm going to let you use the calculator, but I'd like you to see this method. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to use a variable x to represent 2 tenths repeating, or it's really repeating, 0.2 repeating is what we would usually say. And with this little representation, that equal sign means that they're the same, they have the same value. So what I do to one side of that equal sign, I can do the same thing to the other side of the equal sign to keep it balanced. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 10. So I'm going to multiply 10 by x, and I'm going to multiply 10 by 0.2 repeating. And I'm choosing 10 because I have one digit that is repeating. So 10 times x is 10x. 10 times 0.2 repeating is 2.2 repeating. It just shifts over a decimal value. And now I'm going to do something even a little more different, and I'm going to subtract x from both sides because I can do the same thing to both sides of an equation. But instead of subtracting x from 2.2 repeating, I'm going to substitute it with its value. The value of x we saw up here at the top was 0.2 repeating. So I'm just going to subtract 0.2 repeating on this right side. So 10x minus x is 9x. And on the right side, 2.2 repeating minus 0.2 repeating is just 2. And thinking back to 7th grade, if I have a number on the same side of the variable, I have a number times x, 9 times x. To undo multiplying, I've got to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides of this equation by 9. When I do that, the left side is x, and the right side, 2 over 9. Remember that division symbol is really just a fraction symbol too. So I get 2/9, and I finished with that. Now let me show you the calculator. Okay, so we want to take this repeating decimal and change it to a fraction, which we can do very simply with a calculator. So I'm going to type in 0.2 repeating, and I don't have a repeating button, so I'm just going to press that 2 because it repeats all the way across my screen. Make sure it's gone all the way across, and then a couple more just to be sure. And then I'm going to go to second, F to D, and hit enter. And it pops up the reduced fraction 2/9.